Hey guys. Yeah, so guys, so here's the thing. I try to teach you today how to get money from strangers, how to make other people give you money. Of course, there are some obvious things you could do, but the problem with this kind of solution is that it doesn't scale. We've been evaluating this kind of solution, so trust me, it doesn't scale. So let me ask you, let me actually tell you that there are some obvious ways, but a different point of view. So I'm going to tell you how we as investors really looking at problems and what we care about. And by the way, I will tell you what's an awesome startup in Europe and what's the awesome startup in Silicon Valley. So first of all, let's meet, because I'm not sure if I had a pleasure to meet all of you guys. So I had a couple of, basically I'm a geek in my blood. I've been doing programming and IT stuff for the last 20 years. I had a couple of startups, and I sold my last startup in Silicon Valley. Since then, I kind of tried to be an advisor in many startups, and then I decided and somehow came to the conclusion I need a framework. That's why I joined real VC, and I cooperated with venture capital with Satus Venture. So coming back to the title of the presentation, it all started with a story. When I was traveling, in Silicon Valley, when I went from Poland, I first went to Seedcamp, then went to Silicon Valley, and for the first couple of months, I had no success at all. And then, after winning 3 contests in a row, investors decided to invest in my company. One of them was Patzer, the guy who just sold his company Mint.com to Intuit. And then I went completely in panic mode. It was like, oh my God, what do I do now? I had been deeply in a startup position, knowing my problems. I was like, okay, there are many technical problems, there are many marketing challenges, there are many other challenges. And my good friend Peter Berger told me then, hey, you don't have to worry about strangers are giving you money. People are throwing money at you, so they trust you. You probably have done something correctly in your startup. So, yeah, if people give you money, don't panic. But what's a startup? I'm pretty sure you guys are fed up with this word. It's basically in all of the news. You are professionals. Most of you are geeks, so you already know what a startup is. But you know these guys, right? Who doesn't know these guys? Yeah, so that's Sergey Brin and Larry Page, and that's a look and impression that we want to give our friends. Hey, I'm doing a startup, so I'm just like these guys. But while in reality, it looks more like these oftentimes, right? So we don't sleep, we don't eat, or eat like really shitty food. And that's how it is. Hopefully, only in the first period of your business. So once again, if you think that startup is actually a couple of guys doing something awesome in the garage, well, maybe, but it's not everything. If you think that these guys are doing something impossible, that's the clue. Not really. Small firm, IT company, no, you're doing it wrong. For us as investors, we believe that startup have many like key features. So now, going from the one extreme, from a startup to the other extreme, to the empire. How to build an empire, like every big corporation wants to be perceived as a small startup, while on the other hand, every startup wants to be perceived as a big corporation. I know a company which was just one guy, and on his webpage, he's got like a secretary assistant, and he's got also listed on the contact page like Department of International Connections, Department of Local Connections. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, like one-man show, right? So how to build an empire? So what's an empire? Empire is a structure. Political structure, territorial structure, any kind of big entity, right? So I was evaluating 2 projects. One project is a Roman Empire, right? It had a population of almost 60 million people. It has its own currency, and execution time to deliver this project took many centuries, right? While the cost of the takeoff was millions of victims, a lot of blood was spilled. While, on the other hand, project Facebook, right? Which is also empire in its way, right? Population, 1 billion people, also its own currency, execution time, 8 years. And takeoff cost, pizza and Coke, right? So, actually, I'm assuming never before in the human history building an empire was easier. I think it's the best time now using these light structures, light resources to test your idea and to build an empire. Of course, there is no new economy. Everything they say in the news is actually not really on the course. So in the venture, what we care about is not inventing a new hammer. Is much more about making use of a hammer in a different way. So now here's the thing that even the old empire has to act on a regular economy in an exchange of money, right? So as I said, innovation, not a new hammer, but a new use, a new utility for a hammer. For us, a startup is just a hypothesis. I know you guys, for you, it's your whole life. Your startup is your baby. I know that because I was also in the same position. Actually, I got money in Silicon Valley to cut out 90% of features that I've built. A lot of stuff has been done for the future. And to decide what features to cut out, I had to kill one feature weekly and then wait till they scream. When the user screamed, I just brought it back. So startup is a hypothesis, and we're testing ideas, whether it is A or B, and using simple Excel, we can decide which way to go. So A/B testing is crucial. I hope you guys know what I'm talking about when talking about A/B testing. Startup for investors is a conversion. Huge funnel, a lot of people coming into your website, then some of them decide to stay for a couple of minutes, some of them decide to leave, some of them signs up for your website, and you know the funnel at the end. Hopefully you will get some value. It's not always counted in money. Sometimes what's more valuable is time they spend on the portal. Scalability. So here's another startup I analyzed. This is the guy who established, so it's a real case study. Here's a guy who established transportation company. And as you can see, his transportation company worked for one package. It worked for 2 packages, 3 packages. But when he loaded up his cart with many packages, system hangs, right? So the startup doesn't scale. How about this startup? Do you think it scales? Do you think it's a good startup? I'm not sure if you can see it, but these guys are smiling. And what's more, even if it's overloaded, you might think all of the guys are smiling, waving their hands, and inviting more people on board. So for us and investors, I would love to invest in such a startup because look at the cost, you know. We didn't have to pay for the whole train, but people are still loving it. Well, that's one of the solutions. Other features we care about the startups, ability to expand, expansion. So there are different kind of ways to conquer the world. Here's a typical way, Roman way, right? A lot of victims, a lot of blood, and it's not cost effective. There are some other ways, geeky way. I've seen this picture before today. Thank you, Chris, for inspiration. So I think this way is much more effective, but the worst thing you can do in your product is when you want to conquer the world in a boring way, so when nothing happens in your product. Like this example. Do you know which phone was better? Basically, do you know, can you tell just one difference between these two phones? Battery life, yeah, shooting at you, yeah, very good. So, of course, you're talking about this one, right? Another difference? Screen size, right. This one wins, definitely. Any other? Design, sure. How about like internet? Did you have internet? Both of them had the internet, of course, in his own special way, right? The battery life, the range, and everything. But of course, for some reason, this guy won the stage, won the day, right? So, as you can see, everything is about emotions. Everything is not in this deep guts of the system, but much more, you know, in a higher subliminal level of human mind. So now I want to tell you, because I promised you to tell you a little bit about how to realize it, how to get money for it, right? So let me start with the typical startup investing financing cycle. Basically, we start at this point somewhere here, and most of the startups actually ends their road. Most of the startups die here. That's something called Valley of Death. Why? Because they lose the interest. If they're lucky enough to, over time, to bring some revenue on board, then, of course, captures the attention of investors. This first stage is often called angel/FFF, friends, family, and fools, right? Who give money to finance a startup. So as you can see, usually it's a function of revenue and a time. Of course, we all want this hockey stick on the chart, right? Value for investors lies in removing risks. It's not about the features that you deliver. It's not about that, hey, I just did the same stuff what was for Android, now it works for iOS. Yeah, sure, what? I mean, yeah, great. But what's the value? Does it mean that you brought attention of 1 million users more, or do you increase the retention, increase the usage, the daily time spent on the portal or on the mobile app? It's all in removing risks. And investors will often tell you that your startup is like this seed that they plant in and they will take care of, and they will, you know, help. But on the other hand, what they really care about is that you guys will dominate a niche. That's the typical American approach. Sometimes common in Poland. Investors usually, especially in States, usually want to dominate a niche. They are not interested in second, third position. They want to make sure, and they will do everything that they can, that you will win the race. It's like in a previous presentation when Bartek Gola really nailed it, that it was about these big checks, right? So I'm putting in the phrase, dominate a niche. So invade your niche and try to capture it and stay inside, don't let anybody in. Now, we're at Satus now. What we are a structure. We are actual like a holding of a traditional network of business angels. This is one of the biggest business angel networks in Poland. We cooperate with R&D institutions, with a National Research and Development Center, which is I think the biggest institution in Poland. We also are a closed-end investment fund. We also are industry and sector. We cooperate with industry and sectors, co-investors like Agora, like O2, like T-Mobile and Play. We do co-investments with them, trying to play through the market, not through the technology. And some numbers, well, I guess I'm a VC, so I guess I have to show some numbers. So we've got 2 VCs underneath our structure. We've got 7 seed funds across Poland. We founded already more than 80 projects, cooperate with 120 business angels. Most of them are active. I think 70 people put in more than 500,000 USD. And I think we analyze per year something around 2,000 projects. Now, average investment is 1.2 million Polish zloty. Initially, we were estimating it at something like 2.5 million zloty, but it turns out that we can, through synergy with some other projects, we can test the projects in a much earlier stage, in a much more effective way. And typical investment up to 6 million Polish zloty, that's 1.5 million euro. That's too boring. Oh, that's a little bit interesting. Basically, structure, private investors, some national investors, PARP loans, and seed capital. Our strategy is synergy. Basically, having a portfolio of 80 projects already gives us creates naturally chains of production supply that we can create a barrier of entry for some other products, some other startups. And our priorities: mobile, B2B tools, real time. Real time is really important, especially on mobile. A lot of times we want to have something right now. When we are in Warsaw, Krakow, San Francisco, with our mobile in hand, we want to search for something right now. And of course, discounts, loyalty programs, some e-commerce stuff. Results, I would say results are not bad so far. Pretty impressive, actually. We've got Ducky Deck in portfolio, Wiggers, and of course, you might have heard about Shirley, recent project that was just that got founded for a new product on Kickstarter. Shirley Box attracted its goal in less than 5 days. Now it's actually over 120% of what they wanted to get. And they still have 21 days to go. So I would say not bad. So my advice to you guys, when you would be asking other people for money, not the begging way, not the cat way I showed you at the beginning of the presentation, you have to be clear and specific. So you're Bond, James Bond. Everyone understands this message. Everyone knows that either he gets shot in a minute or he goes to bed with him, whatever. Say what you do in a startup. 90% of people that I met don't say what they do, or they say in a way that I don't understand. I'm sorry. Match the time that is available for your meeting. It's just the same way I'm trying to match my time right now during this presentation. If you have 20 minutes at the VC meeting, use the whole time wisely, but don't extend it if you are not asked to do so. Be specific. Tell right away what's your projected revenue, what are your expectations about financing, and what they should be expecting from you. And once again, this is very important, say what you want. And say what they get, right? It's like exchange. They will give you if I give you 1 million today, you have to be ready to answer me right away. What would you spend it on? What would I buy with this 1 million? Is it more traction? Is it more users? Is it what? New server? You know, you have to have the answer ready. So once again, how to raise money from strangers? It's not about pitching them. You have to make them excited about the product. You have to make them pitch to you, so you can finally accept their offer. So, yeah, that's about it. I hope I met my time. And if you have any other questions, yeah,
please. First of all, thank you.
Yep.
So, opening the floor to questions. Well, of course, when I say that, there's always like 2 or 3 people leaving. You know, that's
yeah, exactly.
I cannot actually see. Does anyone have any questions to Jaromir? I can barely see a hand over there, but I'm not even sure. Yes, no, yes.
Someone taking pictures or so.
Yeah. Come on, you're a star. Will you be around?
Exactly, I'll be around. I'll be around today. Tomorrow I'm flying to Forum, so I won't be in Krakow, but I'm still around today for if when I want to do. Yeah.
And also, thank you so much for fitting in so quickly. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Jaromir.
I know
thank
that
you so
been
much.
Running late.
Thank you very much.